What is going on, y'all, and welcome to Burning Meat Barbecue. I'm Eric, and today we are going to be tasting an amazing, delicious, wonderful, awesome poor man's brisket, which is, yes, as many of you may have heard, seen, or tried, this delicious cut of meat right here. Now, it's not going to look like that at the beginning. That's after about 5.5 hours on the smoker. We're going to slice it up, try a bite, and give you our review on it. But this is a smoked chuck roast. So, how are we going to be doing it? We've got the Pit Boss heating up. We've got our Traeger Signature Blend pellets. We've got those loaded up. So we are going to go ahead and get this meat trimmed up, put some flavor on it, and get to smoking. So let me first walk you through exactly what we have here on the table. As always, everything I use is available with links in the description. So go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. Click those links if you ever need anything for all of your barbecue needs. So what do we have here on the table? Well, let's start. We've got our heat gloves. We've got our Sado knives, some of the best knives in the game. I absolutely love them. We've got our trimming gloves. We've got our butcher paper, which we may or may not need, but on this one we probably will. We've got our mustard, which is just something we're going to use to help the spices adhere to the meat. And we've got our Meat Church Holy Cow beef rub. That's an awesome rub. Matt, if you're watching, if you ever see this, you want to go ahead and sponsor a video, throw some of those spices my way. Wouldn't hurt at all. Wouldn't mind not having to buy them. Anyway, that is an awesome rub. So this is what we're going to be using today. So let's get into how we're going to trim up this meat and get it on the smoker. Okay, so it's like over 100 degrees here in Texas today. So this is not going to be the longest trim you'll ever see. As you see here, this is a bone-in, 2-inch thick chuck roast. Now, it's not going to be the thickest chuck roast in the world. Every year we buy half a calf from a local butcher, and this is how they do their roasts. So we're just going to go ahead and get this trimmed up, get some of this fat removed. We don't need this big fatty edge around here. All that's going to make is a fatty best first bite. So we're going to trim off that. We're going to trim this little piece of gristle out of the center of the meat here. But other than that, it doesn't really look like we have that much that needs trim. This is really good marbling in here. So that's actually going to help this thing become an even more tender poor man's brisket. So let's get to trimming. Let's get these gloves on, get going. Okay, so the trimming we have to do here, we're going to take this piece of fat right here off. There's no need for that. It's not going to add any value, like I said. So we're just going to take our Sado knives, and we're going to cut that off and round this thing out a little bit. Okay, right there. We do not need that piece of fat. It's got a good piece of meat there. We've also got this little round of gristle in here. There's no need for that to be in there. That'll almost slip right out. Doesn't take much cutting to get it out. Go around the horn there. But there's no reason to leave that in there. That's just gonna not allow our meat to be exposed to the spices. But with that, the rest of the fat can stay. We're gonna leave that bone in. We'll take that out at the end. It'll slide right out before we slice. But with that, let's go ahead and get this thing spiced up and into the smoker. So we're gonna go ahead, and get a little bit of mustard on there for a binder. Don't need a lot. Just wanna get good coverage on it. Set that back to the side. And then get our Meat Church Holy Cow. Now, we are gonna give a good dusting of this. You don't have to go crazy with it, because this isn't a huge piece of meat. You're not going to coat it as thick as you would a brisket, but you are going to go ahead and get the sides. Get all the sides. Let's get our slicing knife out of the way here. We're not going to need that for a while. Sides here. Great flavor on there. The end here. Okay. And you just want to make sure that your coating really covers up all that binder. And then pat it in. Pat it in. Anybody watch the new Happy Gilmore? Tap it in. Tap it in. Do the same thing with your meat, except you're patting it. Not in that way. Stick to this meat. Now we just need a little more binder on there. Not a lot, just enough to get good coverage. Thank you, Frenches. All right. And hit it with that Holy Cow. Okay. Now, you may ask, how are we going to smoke this? What's the plan? And if you've watched the channel before, you know I'm a big 90-minute smoke guy. So we are going to do 90 minutes of smoke on the Pit Boss vertical smoker. So 90 minutes on ultra smoke, and then we're gonna take it up to 225 for the rest of the cook. Once we get to around 180 degrees, because it's such a thin cut and we don't want it to dry out, it's going wrapped in the butcher paper, and then we're gonna take it up to 200 to 205 degrees and then rest it in a cooler under towels until it's time to eat. So let's get this poor man's brisket, AKA smoked chuck roast, into the smoker. Let's go. Oh, but before I forget, we need to get the thermoprobes in it. I totally forgot about that. I don't even know where they're at. Thermoprobes. Looks like I left them in the house. BRB. All right, now we've got our Thermapen and our Thermomaven probes Wi-Fi. This is normally on the table when I start, so just a reminder, links in the description below to all of this. And I do love this Thermomaven. I do need to link it to my phone though. It's so hot today. How is it 100 degrees again? Okay, so let's get these probes in. We're gonna go ahead and put probe 1 into the bottom side off of the bone. Can't go all the way in. We need to be able to get that ambient temperature. And we're gonna put probe 2 down here in the top side. Okay, 2 probes way in. And like I said, there is no right or wrong way to put this in there because there is no fat cap on it. All that fat's gonna render out of it anyway. So let's get it in, get it smoking, and I'll be back in about 90 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and spritz it with a little apple cider vinegar and water just to help that bark develop. Let's go. This in here. Ooh, we smoking now, boy. We are smoking now. Center rack in there. Get that on all smoke. Let's get our timer set to 90 minutes, and we will see you in an hour and a half. All right, y'all, it has been 90 minutes in the smoke, so we're about to go ahead and check on this, see how it's doing. Our temperatures are running at around 111, 110 internal on each probe. The exterior is running about 150, so we're 150 in the chamber, in the Pit Boss. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at this, and then we're gonna see how that bark's setting up and decide whether we need to spritz or not. If we do have to spritz in the bottle, we've got 1/8 of apple cider vinegar and 1/8 of Worcestershire sauce, and then the rest of it's gonna be water. So let's go ahead and glove up and take a look and see how our poor man's brisket is coming along. Also, stay tuned to the end of the video because I decided just a second ago, we're gonna take that piece outside of the bone, we're gonna slice it off, foil it up, and at the end, we're gonna do some world-class poor man's burn ends. All right, so let's take a look at this. Okay, so it's getting a lot of smoke. It's setting up nicely. It's not hot enough that the bark's set yet. If you look, if you're scraping on it, you're still moving that seasoning. So we need to crank the heat, let this keep going, and we've got about an hour and a half, 2 hours to go before we wrap. So let's crank this heat up to 225. It's not dry enough that we need to spritz yet. That outside's still got good moisture to it. So we cranked it up to 225, and I will see you in about an hour and a half when we check in on it again, find out if we need to spritz, and see how our bark's setting up. See you in just a minute. And while you're waiting on that, you might want to go ahead and grab yourself a nice cold beverage of your choosing. In my case, it just happens to be a world-class, best beer, no free ads, Busch Latte. Let's get after it. See you in a bit. All right, y'all, we are back. We are at 3 hours of cook time, so we're gonna go ahead and take a look at this smoked chuck roast. If the bark is set up, we're gonna give it a little spritz. We're gonna see if we need to turn it over or not. Sometimes you need to flip, sometimes you don't. It just depends on how everything's setting up and how that heat chamber is evolving. And then we're gonna let it keep going until it hits that 170, 175. I think that's where we're gonna wrap it before we take it up to its final temperature. Ooh, that is looking good and juicy. I think we are actually gonna turn this over. That is a beautiful piece of meat. Yep, we're gonna turn it over. We don't want the bottom side drying out, and then we're gonna spritz. We've got our mix of water, apple cider vinegar, and Worcestershire. We're gonna spritz that. We're gonna spritz the top, and we're gonna shoot the bottom of it. Because that bark's setting up, you can no longer scrape it off with your finger, and that's what tells you when it's time to spritz. Put that back in, and I will see you in 1 to 2 hours when it's time to wrap that chuck roast up and let it come to its finished temperature so that we can rest it, make our burn ends, and enjoy it. All right, y'all, our bark is setting up nicely on this one, so we're gonna go ahead and pull it out and wrap it. We're at about 174 degrees. We've hit the stall. It hasn't moved in a little while. Now, I've got everything pre-prepared here. I've got my butcher paper out, and I'm gonna show you how I wrap it in just a second. That said, I don't like to bring it out here and sit and talk about it a lot. I like to get it out of the smoker and back into the smoker as fast as possible and get it wrapped tight. So the prep work that I do is I just take my spritz and I spray my butcher paper. I get some moisture on there. I don't want it sticking to it. It doesn't really matter down here because that's not going to touch it anyway. But I go ahead and spritz the butcher paper, which also helps it to not move all over the place while you're trying to get this done. So we're going to go ahead and get that poor man's brisket out. We're going to get it wrapped. We're going to leave our probes in, and we're going to get that thing up to 195 to 205 when it's juicy tender, and we can try that first best bite. So let's get it. Is that beard meets food? Let's get it. Anyway, that was stupid, but let's get this out, get it wrapped. Oh my goodness. That looks absolutely amazing. That fat is starting to render. Everything is coming along so nicely. Take this glove off. That flavor. We're gonna go ahead and do it. Corners. Wrap that in. Fold this in. There we go. Fold that out a little bit. Tuck these corners in. Tuck those corners over. We'll fold it one more time. We've got an envelope for it, and we are good to go. It's going right back in. So it's in its own little envelope. It's got the probes in. It's going to sit in its own natural juices, but that bark's already set up, so we're not worried too much about losing that nice outside crust or bark we've built. Now, sometimes you can get a little tenderness to it. It can flake a little bit, but I think with what we've got set up here, we're in a really good spot. So I'll be back as soon as it hits temperature. We'll take a look at it. We're going to split off our burn ends and get those cooking separately, and we're going to go ahead and do the taste test. All right, y'all, our Thermo Maven just let us know that our meat has hit 202 degrees. It has been in for a little over 5.5 hours in total cook time. So we're gonna pull it out. We're gonna go ahead and separate that back piece from the bone. We're gonna chop that up and get it back in as burnt ends. We're gonna put the rest of it over in a foil pan to rest until it's time to cut and serve. So let's go ahead and get it out, get some temperatures on it, and see if it's butter smooth with our Thermopen. Glove up. All right. Oh, that is juicy, juicy, juicy. Look at that. That looks absolutely amazing. We've got fat rendering. We've got everything just the way we want it. It is falling apart like it's a roast. That's just fat coming off. The bark looks like it held together pretty well. We're gonna bundle this off. We'll get it thrown into the trash. Okay. Now what we want to do is we're going to take off this piece. So we're going to cut out, we'll pull our thermometers here. Pull our Thermo Maven probes. And then we're going to take off this piece down here. Oh yeah. This is there. It's there. And that's going to be our burn ends. We're going to take this piece off the bone right here, and we don't even really have to cut along it, it's just falling apart. We're going to put that out of the way and let it rest. We're going to take this bone off right here. So we're going to set this to the side to rest and let all the juices kind of reabsorb into that. We're going to chop these pieces up, and I'll show you in just a second how we're going to make our burn ends. All right, so to make our burn ends, we've got a foil pan. We've got a little bit of our meat here. This wasn't a ton of meat to begin with, so we're gonna go ahead and chop what we have left up. We're gonna cube this into small cubes. We're gonna take off this piece of fat because we don't need that. That's just pure fat. But this meat here, we're gonna cube up. We're gonna cube these up. Now we're gonna go right along the fat line there. Right along the fat line there. These are just going to fall apart. Oh, this is going to be amazing. We're going to trim a little bit of this fat off here because there is some meat left in this. We're going to cube these up, and we're actually going to put them into this foil pan, and we're going to add a little bit of seasoning. We're going to add a little bit of barbecue sauce, and we're going to get them back in the smoker for another 15 to 35 minutes until they're good and crispy and that sugar caramelizes. But I want y'all to take a look at this. Look at that smoke ring. How amazing is that? Can you see that? How amazing is that smoke ring? We got a good 1/4 to 1/2 inch of smoke ring. So we're gonna get this all into the foil pan. And then I'm gonna show you exactly how we season it to get good poor man's burnt ends. Let's just get a little sneak taste test. So good. So, obviously we started with the holy cow. Now that we're going to make burnt ends, we're gonna put this back in the bowl here, back in the tray. We're gonna hit it with a little bit of the holy cow seasoning. And then we don't want these sitting in sauce. We don't want them just absolutely covered. We just want a good barbecue sauce on top of them. And so we're going with one of my favorites, the Blues Hog Raspberry Chipotle. And we're gonna put that on there. We're just gonna give them a slight drizzle. And then we're gonna toss them in it before we put them back in uncovered to get a little bit of that caramelization and flavor that make burnt ends so delicious. Okay. So we've got a great coating on them. Let's get them back in the smoker. And I'll be back in just a little bit to slice up the rest of this chuck roast and give these poor man's burnt ends a try. All right, y'all, as Bruce Buffer says, it's time. We're gonna go ahead and pull these burnt ends out. We're gonna slice up this poor man's brisket, this smoked chuck roast, and we're gonna see if we had what it takes to give us that best first bite. So let's check it out. All right, let's get these bones out of the way. Nobody needs those bones. That's what our burnt ends look like. Absolutely delicious. I don't know how well you can see them with the lighting the way it is, but they are looking great. We're gonna set these over here for now, and we're gonna pull out our smoked chuck. All right, we got all this beautiful, wonderful rendered fat. So let's slice it up. I mean, look at that. How amazing does that look? So let's go ahead and get this sliced up and see how we did. Am I slicing that the right way? I am not. Oh, shame on me. There we go. There we go. Shout out to these Sato knives, making it easy. That is falling apart. Which our grain running here? I think we're like this. Oh yeah, that's it. I mean, it's not a brisket. They call it poor man's brisket, but it's cutting like it's a brisket. All right, y'all, so the camera actually overheated out on the patio because of the way the sun was setting and everything got burned up. So I brought you inside the shop, so I'm sorry about the echo, but this is where we're gonna do our official taste test. With that, these burnt ends I think are gonna be absolutely fire. But let's try a little bit of the smoked chuck roast. Take a look at that. Look at that smoke ring on it. Look at how that turned out. We got a good smoke ring on both sides. It's got that pull to it. I mean, it's not a brisket, but it's got good pull, good break, amazing bark. All right, holy cow flavor. Oh, holy cow, now I know why they call it that. That is absolutely delicious. That's a home run hitter. You gotta do that. If you're not doing that, you're wrong. Now, the most important piece. Let's get a good little fat on it. Our burnt ends. Look at that. Look at that glaze. Look at how it's set up. Look at that caramelization. That Blues Hog on it. Is it that brisket burnt end that just falls apart because of the intermuscular fat? No, it's not. It almost tastes like a good crispy, salty piece of a little bit fatty rib meat. But I would say burnt ends, mission success. All of this. This was an absolute home run hitter. You've got to try this on your pellet smoker, on your offsetting charcoal, on your Weber, whatever you're going to do. You've got to try the poor man's burnt ends and the poor man's brisket. Get you a chuck roast, get you something cheap from the grocery store. Give it a try and let me know how it worked. Thanks for watching. If you haven't seen any of our other videos, check out this one right here, or you can subscribe to the channel right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.